it's a visit with a person of high strangeness. And today is, it's June 19th, actually Juneteenth today, and we did not deliberately pick this date, but it just worked out like that. And the reason I'm doing an update is everything we talked about back in October that was coming for 2019 has happened, and so I was requested to see if I could dig around a little bit and see what else is coming. Now, to refresh your memory, the show is supposed to be, or is, politically and religiously neutral, except for the prediction shows, because I don't know what I'm going to run into. And to also refresh your memory, I talked about some of the political problems we are having. Back in, what was it, in 14, I talked about a Watergate event that nobody, including myself, nobody knew what we was looking at. And since everything did happen, like I said, it was necessary to go back on for the second part of the year. Now, also to remind you, to tell time when you do a reading is like hitting the moon with a paper clip. So, and anything that we see here, I don't see anything. It's a perception of things. Anyway, if it's not to our liking, we have the power to change that, and it does not have to be like that exactly. And so what I like for you to do is change things if you don't like it. Instead of calling me and you say, oh, you were so right, this happened and that happened. And because the purpose for this is to troubleshoot and see what is coming at us. Now, back in October, when we did the predictions for 2019, I had asked for help from a couple of people. One was a gentleman named Lokesh Kumar. He's in India, and he had made some predictions that, again, everything transpired the way, well, pretty much the way we had looked at it. And the other person was a man named Peter George. He was African. And that had been his first time. We were really excited because he was right on the nose also. So what I did this time, I asked a couple of other people to help me with this. And one of the ladies, her name is Kathy Kitchen. She's in Pennsylvania, and today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Kathy. And an old friend of mine in Texas, she had agreed to look at some things for me to help me out a little bit, so maybe I could clarify some things. So those are the things that I'm going to quote from. And let's see, I'm going to start with my work up here. We're going to keep the country logical and male-like thinking. Males are logical, they go straight forward, whether women are, the feminine energy is more all over the place. And the way the country is going is pretty fixed. No matter what you do, it's going a certain way. And you've probably noticed yourself the anxiety that we have as a whole, not just the country, it's like the whole world. This anxiety that we have is almost unbearable. And we try to go to a grocery store and see what happens. It's it gets in your hair and everywhere, and we just have this anxiety. And it really appears that we're going in circles. Some of the inhabitants of the planet are trying to go with the flow. They're looking at it like lessons. But there's such an uproar amongst the emotion of the population and the people. And so on this deeper level, we want to be in a pace where we can move forward. But some don't have the patience or the time or the willingness, that's a key word right here, to adjust. And some, especially some of the older people, we, excuse me, I don't have a cold. I have to clear my throat here sometimes so I can talk. In some of us older people, we can't go at the speed that is required. I mean, everything is instant. And so you have to be more patient with some of us because we can't follow you at the pace that you require us to do. Some things will be rearranged, and it would appear momentarily that we could lose the house. Usually, if we lose the house, that means it's a big disaster, or we have to start from scratch. But I'm almost thinking this is political. But it's only a small bleep. It appears that all hope is gone, and then it'll resolve itself. And I think it has something to do with decisions made in the House of Representatives. The court rulings, the countless court rulings, is going to continue, and but more detailed reporting is required for us to understand this. And I can't give you a time at this time. And then there's a big caution. Usually when we have a caution, it brings our attention to something. And it says that people would continue to wreak havoc. And there's going to be a lot more shootings. But they are unrelated to politics. But some of the people is going to try to stick those two issues together, which is not the case. So pay more attention to your newscasters here. And the churches will attempt to insert their ideas, and that's going to aggravate everything. So, and then it mentioned Vice President Pence. So I'm not sure what his involvement in all of this is. But anyway, make up your own mind. Don't get brainwashed and let people insert ideas that's not your own. It'll appear to be hopeless at one time, and it looks like nothing is moving forward, like everything is at a standstill, the same thing over and over, but it only appears so. But there are things behind the scene that are causing changes. The abortion debate and issues of that nature will continue, and the world is really going to perceive us as childish, but that's already happening. And some of the younger people going to insert their ideas, and it's going to be a while, but people will eventually listen. So that's a good thing. So that's what I had as my workup. Now, Kathy Kitchen, as I mentioned, she looked at some other things here. And what she said was that people was going to have trouble with electrical appliances all year long, and some of that's happening already. And I noticed the internet is down at night quite often. Then there is going to be, electric cars will be affected, and a lot of the energy field will go haywire, but that's almost in the making now. There's going to be problems with cruise ships and a lot of other type of ships. With helicopters looking for people in the water, and most of them will be rescued. And then she called it a fight between good and evil, and I'm happy, she said, I'm happy that the forces of good will take over. I don't want to interpret her reading there, so I don't know what that means, but I think we'll come out okay. The struggle will last a few more years, but eventually it will straighten out, and the country will not be divided anymore, and our second chance is coming. There are big changes on the way. We will have to listen to our inner voice and let ourselves be guided by what we perceive, not what someone is trying to ram down your throat, so to speak. So that's what Kathy had to say. I'm going to take this and throw it away. Then the third one that came from Texas, and that's in my own handwriting, and chances are I'm not going to be able to read it. She thinks that President Trump is going to have heart problems to the point where he probably at one point has 3 small heart attacks. Some of us look at reincarnation and things, and that horrible Hitler energy per se is gonna kind of calm down, because he will never be, this will not be allowed on the planet Earth ever again. She saw lots of earthquakes and coastal flooding, more hurricanes, especially in Puerto Rico and the Solomon Islands in Indonesia. And then she was looking at some politicians that become quite, I can't say that word, let me rephrase that, that's coming to the forefront. One is Elizabeth Warren and Miss Harris and Nancy, can't read my own writing. Anyway, she thought the females would do really well in the elections. So that's what we got on the workup here. So now we're going to do the actual reading. My little rag here, my mother gave me 40 years ago, is getting older each time. So let's see. To remind you, I work with 2 decks. And the reason for that is this way I don't have to wait so long before I get a clarification, and we almost, it would take too long because we only have 1 hour to do this. So here we go. Let's see what we got here. In the meantime, try to relax as much as you can. Now, what I've noticed when I go to town occasionally, we don't want to get dressed up anymore. You can tell by my mode of dress here today. We don't feel like we want to get dressed up. We don't want to get our hair fixed. We're so busy with trying to make a little money and pay our bills. And so please find something where you can have a little joy, like a bird or a little drive or something, was something that I found real helpful. One of my great-grandkids gave me. I got it at Fred Meyer's. It's a stress reliever. Now, it's a banana of some kind, and I can pull it, and I can swing it, and I can squeeze it, and get all my frustrations and put it in this banana here. It's almost indestructible. So find whatever silly thing you can to help you through the day and make yourself feel better. Okay. So here we go. Let's see what's coming up now. Like I said, I cannot give you a time frame on things. Yeah. It would appear it's fairly accurate. A lot of legal battles, as we know, is ahead of us. But most of the outcome of the legal verdicts would move us forward in the right direction. I'm sure it's not to everybody's liking, but that's okay, because this motherly nurturing instinct that we have, whether male or female, is really coming to the forefront as people realize we are really affecting everybody on the planet. And I think this reading is fairly accurate. A lot of arguments, and I think they have to do with Congress, and they also have to do with other countries. I'm going to stop here for a minute. I want to tell you something. One of my grandsons went to Guatemala last month, and he brought me back some little dolls, and I said to him, "Oh, they're so little, but they're nice." And he said, "Well, talk to them, tell them all your problems, and then you just throw them away, like away from you." And that's kind of like when I used to take a melon, and I would write down all the things that bother me, and I cut a melon, and I put the paper in it, and I take it to the open ocean, and the water would take all of that away. And And so in some symbolic way, what we need to do is tell somebody or something all your troubles and just get rid of it. Just throw it away, just get rid of it, so we don't get so constipated because we're so busy with just trying to make it from one day to the next. And all this arguing and indecisiveness, the world changes on an hourly basis. It will come to an end if we maneuver this properly, okay? Lots of court cases, a lot of paperwork involved. More people will be imprisoned because of the decisions that they've made, and that has to do with the politicians. The whole world is in litigation, like we've been held hostage here for some reason. So try to get all that nervous anxiety and try to do something with it, other than striking out at other people, because that's a really easy thing to do. The anxiety level is really, really going to rise. And then there's a caution here. I believe that we're going to be bombarded with everything that comes through the mail or in news media. I would like to think it's in written form, but I'm not sure. So it could be signs or leaflets or things like that. A lot of that is propaganda. Don't buy into this. Whatever you see or hear, look at it and see if it even applies to you, because this anxiety, this anxiety that we have, it's constipating us. It creates a blockage. And when you're constipated, you got to get rid of that blockage so you can relieve yourself. And so try not to get overwhelmed with things that we are bombarded with. And it's almost like a pregnancy, like we in labor. Well, I see the men can't relate to that. But what happens in the female when you go into labor, it starts easy and then it stops, and then the pain intensifies. And for you males that is coaches, and if you take childbirth classes, they explain what that's like in our emotions and the way the world is going right now. We're getting ready to go into labor, and it's going to be really, really painful. But when it comes out on the other end and starts howling, we slap it and we say, oh man, I'm glad this is over, and we forget all about it. So just hang in there, okay? I can't put a time period on this. Cannot put a time period on this, but if we're not careful, when we have disturbances, when we have wars, it's always over there, over there. Well, the way this looks, if we're not careful, it's not going to be over there. It already affects our daily lives now, but we don't want it to get to the point where it's not over there anymore, where it affects us. So for those of you that pray, or however you relate to that, talk to your guides, your gods, or your higher self or something to calm things down so we won't accidentally lose our house, meaning all this ugliness is going to not stay in our backyard. It's going to tear down the front door. And to say to show love for one another would be a cop-out, because that means different things to different people. We have to be more considerate of other people, because even though we are not all the same tribe, let me see, how should I explain that? We are the human race. Even though we're not the same tribe, we need to bond together so we can sort of we can't really fix it. We need to maintain it, because if not, we're going to get overrun with other things. There will be disasters and earthquakes, and everybody has to fetch for themselves, and we don't want to do that. We need to remember that everybody living on the planet at this time is in the same boat, practically. Practically. The job situation is not going to stay the way it is. Lots of losses with jobs. A lot of immature decisions will be made. I'm not sure if that's rules and regulations, but there's a big loss in jobs. I don't know what that means. Now, see, most of the young people, they in a situation where they could work from home, but I think we're going to have problems with the internet too. And so once the internet goes down, there is nothing we can do now. In the olden days, you had a dial-up phone. If the power went out or anything, you could still maintain your telephone lines. But the way it is now, everything is so set. One thing depends on another, and so it would really be wise to look for some other alternatives, because I'm not sure if this is a national power outage I'm looking at. It's like everything's at a standstill. Nothing works. And so you got the electrical grid, you have cars, you have... Nothing works. I don't know what I'm looking at. And it's cold outside, so I can't go by the weather, because I used to be able to tell time by the seasons, but we don't have seasons like we used to. I mean, the Midwest is underwater even in the summer. But it's cold. It's cold everywhere, so I'm assuming maybe November, somewhere in there. Massive power outages, yeah. It's going to be okay eventually, but a lot of people won't know what to do. And for those of you that have medication, always make sure you have a few extras, because when the grid goes down, you can't go to the pharmacy, their computers don't work, they can't fill your medication or anything, especially those of you that have life-threatening issues. Make sure you have some in the car and in other places that you can get to. I'm going to stick with the power outage. Yeah. End of the summer when it gets cold, so let's see, when does it get cold? October, November, somewhere in there. I'm going to stick with that. It's going to probably last a few days. Wow. It would be good if the male population could pay more attention to their feelings, to their feminine side. I mean, humans, we balance with male and female. I won't say tendencies, but men gonna have to look at things a little broader than what they are right now, because this straight ahead, do everything by the book just isn't gonna work. And so it may be a good time for males to start thinking a little bit, to find alternative methods to do things, and be more, I won't say more caring, that's the wrong word. It just pay more attention to their feelings and instincts. And we're going to be able to juggle things. Things will be sort of worked out come springtime. And but in the meantime, a lot of families is going to break up because they just cannot stand the pressure. So instead of us turning on each other, both male and female, we need to learn a little more compassion, because it's just the times that we live in. Because if too many families break up, that's not going to help us either. We have to kind of chill out. This is my marijuana card here. I don't know if you can see it, but there it is. It doesn't mean that we all have, I'm not telling you all to smoke weed, but it's that state of relaxation. That's what I'm trying to have you get to, where you can just chill out a little bit. The money situation is not going to improve for a while, so as long as you maintain, be happy. If you have a place to live and food to eat, be happy, because I don't see a lot of improvement there at the moment at all, and we have to give up something to get something. And I'm not sure what that entails. Gun control is going to be a big issue during the election. In a way, there is no need to I can't say that word. Political, help somebody, help, politicalize, help me. Control room is not listening to me. Politicize, I think that's the right word. Because in a way, they're not really related. Even though they would like to make a political issue out of it, it has to do with the way people think and the way they do things. But don't let that issue deter you from making the right decision when you pick your politicians, the people that supposed to represent you. I think there's a change in the Supreme Court coming between the end of the year. And the post office is going to have to lay off more people. So if you are an employee of the post office, see if your retirement is in place and everything, look ahead a little bit, because I think the post office is going to have some issues. Yeah. Things is pretty predestined. We can only go so far. We can only go so far. Also see a lot of downsizing in the housing market. So if you're getting ready to buy a house, you may want to wait a little bit. I think the prices is going to drop. As the economy changes, it's not going to stay the way it is. So once the economy changes, if you are in a position where you can buy a house, you can probably pick up something at a better rate than what it is now. If you have to use firewood for the winter, if that's your only source of heat, this would be a good time for you to purchase firewood, because it's going to be in high demand. There's going to be lots of fires, and trees and firewood is going to be very scarce. So make sure you have enough heating things that you need to stay warm with. This has to do with medicine. I think several of the medications for migraines is going to be pulled because they're not safe. I think it has to do with migraine, things with people's head that would be what, migraines and allergies. And so if there's a recall, please pay attention and don't overlook that. There is a problem with some of the medicines. Could also be over-the-counter medicine, cold medicine. So please do your research before you swallow things. Sea level is going to continue to rise. Humans are being advised not to worry about it, but I would not count on that. Use your own thinking, use your own instincts on that, because everything is changing at such a pace where we're going to run into some trouble here. We've already talked about the job market. There's problems with ferries and ships, like we started in the beginning, what Kathy was talking about. But things is pretty laid out. No matter what you do, what we do, it's just going to have to play out. We just have to buffer the impact of things. Yeah. And you know, when you look at history, a lot of wars were actually started over ships or something like that. So we really don't want to. We don't want an in-country war over ships and things. So if you ask me what to do about that, I don't have a clue. I'm just telling you what I'm looking at. Some parts of the countries is going to have to start from scratch, I believe. Excuse me. I believe that has to do with the weather conditions and the floodings. Lots of food did not get planted, so we have issues with the food supply. And no matter how much money you got, it doesn't matter if you can't buy anything. Now, I'm not saying you can buy anything, but kind of think ahead a little bit, because we're going to have to relearn how to do things a little bit, because there is an actual shortage, food shortage coming. Now, whether that has to do with political retaliation or Mother Nature, I don't know. But no, by November, it's pretty nippy here. Yeah. And it's been like that before, so I don't know in which century, because in my life, the only time I remember being hungry was after the war. We didn't have anything to eat. I can't give you a time period on this. People in high places is going to get busted for drugs. Now, I'm not talking about marijuana here. Marijuana, to me, is not a drug. I'm talking about hardcore things. That's coming into America. But it's not coming from the southern border. In some kind of way, people are going to realize that towards the end of the summer. Now, I think summer starts in a couple of days, so I'm looking at the next 2-3 months. And all this hype about all the drugs are coming in from the southern border. They're not. They're coming from somewhere else. Like I said earlier, gun issues is going to be, it's still going to be an issue till at least the end of the summer. It's going to be like before. Nothing ever happens. And I can't give you a time period on that. And we're going to have problems with respect around the world. Yeah. We can't, the other thing is we won't be able to throw our financial, how do I want to word this? We can't throw our financial weight, that's the word. We no longer have financial weight that we can throw around because we're pretty broke and depending on other places. Some of the smaller bridges have to be repaired because they're getting ready to deteriorate to the point where we can't get from point A to point B. There's going to be fights about who pays for what and whose fault it is. I guess everybody's fault if you're not thinking straight. So when you ask to make a decision, especially on a local level, to vote for a measure or something, kind of take a look at that and see how it would affect you in your backyard, so to speak, you know. In other areas, you have to think global. But I think eventually we're going to come out okay. It's a little iffy there. Politicians going to continue arguing about things that makes no sense. The way is the us and them, that division that we have, and that's not going to change any either. So we have to make some personal changes so we don't get trapped in that line of thinking, because in the final analysis, it's everybody's butt. Did I say that? Yeah. And it really has no borders. There comes a time we're all going to have to look out for each other because we're going to have some real issues. Besides that, it will divide families. And I'm talking about moms and dads and grandparents and things like that. There can be a real danger that we no longer care about the next person. I already made reference to some of the medications. There's also a problem with some migraine, medication for migraines. Yeah. Please teach your children how to respect people, things, and places. And let's kind of go with the flow a little bit. But we've been here before. Maybe not to that extent, but we have been here before, and it is a repeat. And because it is a repeat, we should remember the outcome. And maybe we can handle things differently, because we want the outcome to be safe. The pictures, I'm going to stop for a minute. The pictures behind me here, those are images from Mars. And in some circles, they say that at one point there was a civilization on Mars. And what they did is they ruined their planet. And they needed to find a new place to live. And some of them came to Earth. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm almost tempted to believe that, because the way things are going right now, it's like we actively trying to destroy our Earth. Not only that, the crazy thing is we want to go back to Mars. So the pictures behind me, there are places on Mars. Now, what would you do with that? You know? Just like that. And I mean, and you don't poop where you sleep. Oh, did I say that? I guess I did. Don't know how that fit in there, but that's what you're looking at, Mars. And no, I don't care to go to Mars. Figuratively speaking, I'm too old to go anywhere physically. Now, we did talk about the other predictions we made. We talked about the fact that Brexit was not going to take place, and so that was true too. I see no changes there. So if people waiting for that, somewhere along the line, people is going to start thinking broad again, where they look at outcomes and say, if I do this, cause and effect type thing. So I think in some ways we're going to be okay. I'm going to pick these up because we can't go by the book right now. Just throw that book away and go by feelings. Check on your life insurance. See if everything is in place there. Some of the insurance companies probably don't have enough money anymore. I mean, look what happened to Sears. Sears went out of business. And all the life insurance policies won't be able to get paid. So look at your finances, your insurance, life insurance, long-term insurance. Reevaluate your homeowner's insurance because the weather is going to be ugly. And keep an eye on the food supply because there's issues with the food supply. Now, I don't know if that has to do with illnesses or just lack of. Yeah. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. And for some of the friends, I don't think the aliens is going to come rescue you, just so you know. Yeah. We're going to have to take care of that ourselves. Summer is going to be one of the strangest ones. It's bipolar. It's either too hot or not hot enough, and it interferes with all the food supply. Fashion is going to change. I don't know what that means either. Has to do with male fashion. I don't know what that means. If we can hang in there long enough and muddle our way through everything and understand the legality of what it is that we willingly or not willingly doing to each other and to the planet. I mean, I think they were called the town crier. It's the guy that used to go into the villages with a little trumpet with a little horn and say, toot toot, here I am, I need to tell you, I have a message from such and such a place. I think we need a town crier, and when you hear it, if nothing else, listen to what he has to say. I'm assuming it's a he because in the storybooks it's always a he. So it's probably not politically correct, but it's in my way of looking at it. It's a him with a little skirt and a little trumpet there. Yeah. No time period. I cannot put a time period on this. Some of us old ones, like my generation, we getting ready to leave. Our time on the planet is just about done. The only thing we can do is answer your questions if you have any. But what I have found, people don't have any questions. They assume that they have all the answers. So you need to educate yourself. You got Google and you got what's her name, Siri. Even though if I ask something, I don't care what it is, she'll say, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is, or I don't have that information. Educate yourself. Become smart, and not just book smart. Try to learn how to make workable solutions for yourself, please. And try not to blame everything on depression. You can be sad, you can be disgusted, you can be anxious, but the way it is now, everybody says, well, I'm depressed, I'm going to bed. That's not going to solve your problem. Get angry. Raise the adrenaline and get out of bed. Depression is not your solution at the moment. I work with 2 decks. So when I have the 2 the same thing, it's usually important. And what this represents to me is usually when somebody or something holds you hostage. Sometimes that can be even an emotion or something. So please don't put yourself in a position where something holds you hostage. If there's a problem, identify it and go directly to solving the problem instead of worrying about it. So a lot of times people will worry. Now in my case, and I can only speak for myself, I don't worry because that's a waste of my time. I look at something to identify what it is that's not right, and then I go directly to how I'm going to solve this. Because when you worry, you get stuck. It's all you do is you worry, and you don't resolve anything. So please, do not worry. Go to the problem-solving aspect of your life, and don't let anything hold you hostage like that. Yeah. And we all need to stick together. So we see here. No, I have it. Anyway, this concerns me a little bit. It does. Yep. And we are just going in circles. So let me summarize some of this. Between now, especially between now and November, problems with bridges, problems with trains, problems with ships. Weather is a lot more intense than it normally is. That affects the food supply. Be careful who you let in your house. Now, I'm not talking about refugees or anything like that, because we need to show kindness to people and help them out a little bit. I'm talking about people with crazy ideas. That's not going to work. Yeah. In life, it's not a video game, so you can't push the reset button either. Yeah. Now, here again, I have two of the same cards here. And to me, that's the end of a period. So whatever we're going through will come to an end, one way or the other. I guess we just have to decide which is one way and one is the other. Yeah, I don't like that either, so, at all. Water is rising, but we already know that. Please relax. Here again, consider other ways to make money because a lot of the jobs are going to go away. And unless you are a technically oriented genius, you won't be able to find a job like some people like myself. We're not used to the technology. We wouldn't know what to do. We couldn't get a job, you know. But the job market right now is good, but it's an illusion because it is going to change. Please demand respect in a loving way. But you can't demand respect if you don't give it. So we really have to kind of rethink how we treat people in general. We have to think about how we look at the world as a whole, because regardless of what you want to do, we are all connected. I don't think we've ever been disconnected on the planet, ever. You know, not ever. One thing stops, everything else stops. And then we have to depend on other people. And go with the flow. What a cop-out. Don't do drugs. That's funny. Forget I said that. That used to be the answer to everything, you know. It's not the answer anymore. Yeah, we have to use common sense, or else we're going to lose our house. That would not be good. One of the things as Americans, we're not good at following orders. You know, we raise our kids to, well, you know, you make up your own mind and you don't have to follow the leader, and you can do anything that you wish, and all that's really wonderful and commendable. But at the same time, we also have to make them aware that if what you wish and you want to do is not in line with the rest of the world, and that's not a good thing, you know. For instance, there are circumstances, whether it's in a violent situation or a weather situation. If you, I'm using a child as an example here. If you say, be quiet, and they need to be quiet, or eye contact, you need to be able to do what you're told. Because if a child was to say, well, why do I have to be quiet? I don't want to. Whatever's coming after you, whether it's a bear or a wolf or something, you'll get bit, because your child is exercising their right to make up their own mind, because that's what we have taught the last 2 generations. So we kind of have to rethink that a little bit. And please do that. Yeah. Where did that come from? We've given birth to a whole new way of doing things. And the control room said I have 3 minutes. Anyway, so please rethink the way you do things. Take care of each other, please. Be more caring. Take care of each other. And don't believe everything you hear. Make up your own mind. And we're going to do this again in October for 20, providing I'm still on the planet. I want to thank everybody that helped me. And check your food supply, because we're going to have issues with that. And thank you, control room. They're not listening, but that's okay. Nobody else is. And I hope that helped a little bit. I'm going to go home and look at that and see what I talked about. And please don't tell me I'm right when stuff happens. Kind of analyze it and change things if you want to, and make it work for you. Please make it work for you. And yeah, make it work for you. And I hope you have a wonderful summer. Be careful. We're going to have a lot of fires also. And hopefully by October we can make the country feminine, where we kind of look at things in a broad sense again. And if everything else fails, go to Fred Meyer's and get you a stress reliever. It really works. You can throw it in the washing machine, to get it clean. And you can do all kinds of things with that. And it really, really helps. So how am I doing for time? Not getting an answer. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today. And I hope you have a wonderful summer, and don't stress so much. Try to enjoy nature and the food people cook for you and things like that, okay? And then we'll do this again in October. Control room? Am I done? I'm done. I'll see you in October. Namaste. Bye. Cool.
Miss Lillian, we'd like to thank you for all the fun you took us here. Take us there. It's just because you really care where our journey goes. All it begins is part of our planning will extend. And if we do our we've had from the take us here, and you take us there.